Garou Mark of the Wolves. I've talked about this game in fairly minor detail, but today it's getting the spotlight. I have a fairly long-winded history with this game. To make a long story short, I entered a Sonic Adventure 2 bracket on Fightcade. Yes, those are all real words that just came out of my mouth. And the game ended up desyncing like mad, so the TO forced a game switch to Garou. Long story short, I was in winners finals when we switched games. I lost because I had never played Garou before and it sorta left a bad taste in my mouth. Flash forward to April 2024 and I got the chance to actually learn the game with some friends. Despite some genuine issues like severely unreliable anti-airs and the lag, it's a very fun game and really does feel like SNK's take on Third Strike, and Street Fighter in general. The thing that fascinated me the most about Garou is the disparity in tiers. While it's absolutely not as bad as lots of other old games, and it by no means renders the lower half of the roster unusable, there's still a pretty significant gap between characters. Garou's top tiers are all unique in their own way, with different methods of taking advantage of Garou's many mechanics and systems to all become absolutely devastating. They're all fucked up in some kind of way, and all guilty of some seriously egregious crimes, so why not talk about it? Today I'll be talking about the broken top tiers of Garou Mark of the Wolves. Let's start as usual at the top. Garou's top dog, Kain Ryan. You can argue for the other three members of the pretty much universally agreed upon top four being better. Everyone has different opinions, but Kain is generally the one most people put at the top for good reason. The guy is, simply put, an offensive powerhouse with access to so many different ways of killing you. Fitting for a member of law enforcement, I suppose. Kev has a lot going for him and is seemingly fine-tuned to play the game so well that it almost feels like they made this guy this way on purpose. The defining tool of Kevin's kit is Hell Rotor, but there's a lot more beyond that. Kevin is notable for possessing an absolutely amazing jab. Far 5A is a 3-frame normal, it's plus on block, and Kevin can very easily combo off of it, giving him excellent damage off of light confirms. The hitbox is also real good, further bolstering its use as a pressure tool and as a last-minute anti-air. It's an amazing button and is go-to at close range. Mr. Ryan is already notable for having seriously juiced damage on regular confirm combos. The most basic stuff you could possibly learn with him still does a pretty good amount, and his damage potential opens up tremendously once you start incorporating feint cancels and his break. Fuck, I guess I gotta explain these mechanics now that I brought him up. So every character in Garou has feint versions of 2 of their special moves. Presumably it was intended for you to bait reversals and stuff, but feints can also be cancelled into normals. For most characters, this allows for a new dimension of combo damage and pressure. Kevin's damage increases tremendously with this, and his break is excellent. Every character in Garou has at least one breakable special move. You can interrupt the animation of it halfway through, something that finds use in combos and block strings. Kevin's break is his 236B/D Hell Trap. Notably, this is the only break move in the game that hits low, and it launches allowing for a pretty easy combo that hits alarmingly hard. Now, here's something funny. You can use Kevin's low break for a block string out of 5A into a dash. This is inescapable. Like, legit, you can't do anything. There's no gap to just defend or press a button or super. We're off to a great start, huh? Your only real hope here to avoid being guard crushed is to just take the hit and hope the Kevin player isn't expecting it and fucks up their conversion. Where we graduate from strong to fucking stupid is when we take into account Kevin's damage with meter, and in that regard, we have to discuss Gatling Freezer. This right here, just the mere sight of it would make the gods weep. It's an excellent super with so much utility. Let me read off the list. First, the speed. The B version is 3-frame startup and the D version is 0-frame startup. Be prepared to hear this a lot throughout the video. There's a lot of supers with 0-frame startup in Garou. I explained this in a prior video, but if an opponent does a super with 0-frame startup and you're not blocking before the super flash, you're getting hit. Gatling Freezer hits insanely hard, with even the 1 meter B version doing a shocking amount for a 1-bar super, but also Kevin can combo off of it. It's not particularly difficult and it doesn't require any tech, it just leaves the opponent staggered and grounded, allowing you to do any normal Kevin combo you would usually do, and the damage adds up dramatically. Also, the super is invincible on startup as you'd expect, and it's just plus on block for some reason. Like, even if he does this as a wake up and you block it, he's still winning. Who thought this was a good idea? With Gatling Freezer, Kevin has access to easy TODs. The guy outputs insane amounts of damage, and because his break is an integral part of his pressure structure, he has no problem converting stray hits into massive damage. Having the cash to spend on super is very important to him, and thankfully for Kevin, he never really has to worry about that thanks to Hellrotor. Hellrotor is a chargeable punch that does high damage as a combo ender, making it pretty strong already, but this move can also be cancelled during the charging animation. This is known as rotor cancelling. At the absolute lowest level, it's pretty easy to do very basic rotor cancels, but Kevin can also rotor cancel into other normals. The utility of rotor cancels comes primarily from combo extensions and meter build. Even with the very basic rotor cancels, you can build heaps of meter in absolutely no time, and you can mix up stationary rotor cancels with cancels into his roll to make it harder for the opponent to stop you. Rotor cancel combos give him among the best damage in the game and also build mad meter. This is primarily what makes Kevin such a powerful force in the meta. Once he has a hit and the meter to spend, there is usually a good chance he's gonna kill, and he never really has to deal with the issue of not having any meter because of rotor cancel's insane meter build. He can also use rotor cancels into normals as a guard cancel, and a good one at that. The big issue with rotor cancels is the difficulty. Performing them optimally requires very good execution. Not that you absolutely need to learn this stuff to play him, it ain't required, but if you want to make the most out of his damage, you better get ready to learn. Also, the lag. My god, the lag. Kevin's other issues are mostly just small stuff. You can lament the lack of a meterless reversal or any projectiles, but realistically, all this stuff doesn't matter considering just how good his kit is. He has a lot of other random strong stuff. I alluded to unreliable anti-airs in the intro. Every character has an upper body evasion attack, which I think is just supposed to be sort of a universal anti-air. Most of them aren't great for this purpose though, as they have a hurt box that appears before they become active, which causes them to lose to jump-ins. All of them except for Kevin. Kevin's just doesn't have this issue, which actually makes it fairly consistent as an anti-air. Also a command throw and this neat little crawl. Even though Kevin is very strong, he's far from an unbeatable monster. The other top tiers and even other high and mid tiers have answers to his shenanigans. Kevin though is absolutely insane. Hard execution may be a bummer, but realistically, how many top tiers has that actually held back? Count your blessings against this guy, because with just one hit, he'll make you suffer. Bingo. Grant. Just uttering his name strikes fear into the hearts of Fightcade players and arcade veterans alike. He's a sub-boss, fought either as the final or second to last encounter in the arcade mode, and generally considered a very, very strong character. Some might put him just above or just below Kevin, but either way, he truly earns his nickname as the Martyr of Might. Behind that badass mask and cape lies a character who is strong, but also infuriatingly simple. I just talked about Kevin being an offensive powerhouse with high execution barriers. Yeah, Grant goes in the complete opposite direction as a defensive beast who is, to be frank, so easy that a baby could probably win with him. You're not picking Grant because you want to challenge your execution or decision making. You're picking Grant because you want to hit buttons and win. There's nothing wrong with that, but you will still be judged once your cursor hovers over that roulette to pick him. Speaking of which, hover over Dongwon on character select, hit start to initiate random select roulette, and then input up up down down up down. Congratulations, you've just incurred the wrath of Grant. Grant stands tall with a strong backdash and very good buttons, and his control over neutral is unparalleled. Even though he's a big guy with some fairly slow buttons, he has lots of ways to traverse the screen at an alarming speed. 236B/D is a dash with good travel range, going half screen for B and almost full screen for D. He has a dive kick which is shockingly fast, and a pretty unique DP. The A version works as you'd expect, rising into the air and falling down on recovery, but the C version has the fucker fly all the way up to the top of the screen before coming down to the ground and creating a shockwave which causes damage. Both versions are also cancelable into his dive kick. Mix up this ground pound ender with cancels into dive kicks, and you can turtle in a supremely annoying manner. For a big guy, he can be hard to pin down. Oh yeah, and his DP is also his break. Limited invul frames makes it kinda hard to use this as a reversal, but this is a primo combo tool that allows for very high damage juggles. While not quite on the same level of Kevin, Grant can definitely put the hurt on you with the right starter. 646A/C is a very slow overhead, maybe not the most consistent mix-up option, but it launches on hit, allowing for very high damage corner juggles with 3C. Outside of the corner, you can hit confirm his jabs into super for some very nice damage too. Many of his specials also do a ton on their own, which definitely helps. Undeniably, one of the most maddening things about fighting Grant is just how impossible it can feel to start offense on him. I already mentioned how efficiently he can stall thanks to his DP and dive kick, but a very frustrating number of his specials are just safe for seemingly no reason. Both dive kicks can be made plus on block depending on spacing and distance from the opponent and the ground. 236D is -1 on block and pretty much always leaves him right in your face. Both versions of his spin kick super are -2 on block, although even without a 1 or 0 frame super, I think you can punish this consistently with a throw. It just feels impossible to get this guy to stop moving, and his button's long range gives him tons of excellent air-to-airs. Grant is a very low-risk character. You can play defensively and you're rewarded handsomely for it thanks to Garou's own systems. Just Defend gives him an easy way to call out pokes or air-to-air attempts, and he has a slew of strong guard cancel options out of successful JDs. Whereas Kevin is an offensive powerhouse, Grant is a monster on defense as his game plan is incredibly safe. It may sound strange for a character like this to be considered top tier, but Garou is just a very defensive game. Just Defend is incredibly strong, as are backdashes and jumps, and because of this, defense-oriented playstyles are very viable. There are other characters that can play this way like Hoku Tomaru and Hotaru, but Grant easily does it the best because of his buttons, damage, and his safety both on the ground and in the air thanks to dive kick. To seal the deal and really make you roll your eyes, he can take more punishment than most of the cast. There are 14 characters in Garou. 3 of them have below average defense, 2 have above average defense. One of those 2 is Grant, which means he takes longer to kill than anyone else on the roster aside from T-Zak, who also has high defense. Wonderful. If there's one flaw he definitely has, it's that if you can actually lock him down in the corner, his ways of escaping aren't amazing. Grant doesn't really have the best Abare buttons, but like I said, JD and guard cancels exist, and he can also use his supers. Also, he doesn't get the best damage off of 2B, his fastest low. His mix-up potential isn't really that great, not that he needs it. The sheer ease of use for Grant and how well he plays the game has given the character extremely consistent tournament results, and solidified him as one of the best characters in the game. It's kind of funny to think that a man who prides himself on power spends most matches running away like a bitch. Irony is a beautiful thing. Next up, a warm welcome back to Bon Jenet. I already talked about B Jenet in a prior video. That segment was fairly rushed, and even though it went through all the broad strokes, I'm okay with doing this song and dance again. I play Jenet, so yes, I am biased, and no, I don't care. Representing the Lillian Knights, Jenet is as deadly as she is beautiful, and commands respect with her incredible offensive presence and mobility. She can move like the wind through the air and stomp your fucking face into the ground while doing it. I already discussed her admittedly unconventional special moves, the most important of which are 236A/D, a slow grounded projectile used to set up Oki, and 236B/D, her break which you can use for plus frames and combos. You use 2148 to end combos and 214B/D to check people blocking low. Of course, this all pales in comparison to her strongest tool, Harrier B, which is simultaneously a dive kick and air dash. Upon executing the input, Jenet will begin flying through the air. The B version hops up vertically, and the D version travels very far horizontally. This is a multifunctional tool that does numerous helpful things for Jenet. The damage off of a full connect dive kick is actually insane, doing almost as much damage as some of her regular B&Bs, and Jenet can juggle into super in the corner for even more damage. Jenet's dive kicks allow her to control neutral in a dominant fashion. She's great at shutting down fireballs, because if you're in the air, which you probably will be in this game, you can usually react to any fireball thrown and dive kick the shit out of the character that threw it. Even Butt, whose fireball is quite fast, is taking an extreme risk whenever he throws them against Jenet. You can similarly use it to whiff punish normals too. Happen to spot a whiffed anti-air attempt? Dive kick and make them regret ever pushing a button. Use it to air too, anything you want really. Playing neutral against Jenet is a dangerous game, because almost anything you do can and will be punished by a dive kick if you aren't careful. In the corner, she can use Harrier B in her pressure. Both versions have up to 4 follow-ups. The last one knocks down, but it's also heavily punishable on block. The third hit, though, is the fucking money maker on block, as you can make it safe or even plus. Frame trap with it, or just straight up guard crush. Jenet's pressure can feel nigh inescapable, and you can throw in throws or her regular buttons to catch people who might try to preemptively anti-air your dive kick. Generally, the rule when it comes to Jenet pressure is to perform your 2D as close to the opponent and as early off the ground as possible, to recover as early as you can. This is also important even in neutral. It's tempting to jump back and then dive kick, but that just makes it easier to react to, and against characters with strong anti-air supers, this can be a death sentence, so watch yourself. JB air-to-airs very well if you want to contest someone high up, JD has a good hitbox for cross-ups, and of course, her infamous 2B. A character who commands so much respect in the air, having a fast, far-reaching, cancelable low poke on the ground that can low profile is insane. Despite her strong offense, Jenet boasts very strong defense as well. She has a 0-frame super like you'd expect, and unlike some other characters, both the level 1 and level 2 versions are 0-frame, so you don't have to worry about spending the extra meter for a faster reversal. More notably though, Jenet's backdashes. Backdashes in Garou are invincible, and Jenet's is pretty obnoxious already given how far it travels. More importantly, it sends Jenet into the air, and it can be cancelled into her dive kick. Backdash cancel dive kicks aren't just extremely annoying, but they're very strong. You can try to take her turn back against dive kick pressure, and all of a sudden you're getting hit because she did a backdash cancel dive kick to whiff punish your button. It's so annoying. You can also do backdashes on wake up as a meterless reversal. Just be mindful of just defend. You don't want to give your opponent free health and a chance to guard cancel. This can sort of be amended by delaying the kicks from Harrier B to throw the opponent's JD timing off, but still, be cautious. Strong damage and offense are what define Jenet. She's got great pressure, high reward on hit including a tricky infinite, an air throw allowing her to call out empty jumps or JD attempts very well, her many torpedo super is good for chipping as long as the opponent doesn't JD it, and her guard crush damage can be scary. I guess the logic behind her design was to balance this all out with one thing that you never want to see on a character: low defense. She's one of 3 characters to have below average defense along with Hotaru and Hoku. I played the former two, so frankly, I feel targeted. It becomes even worse considering the glitch associated with her. The BJNA counter hit bug causes her to enter a counter hit juggle state after a regular hit if she's in midair, which enables combos and juggles that only work on Jenet. Taking damage as Jenet can be very punishing. So she's a little bit of a glass cannon, and she even gets guard crushed sooner than most. However, thanks to Garou's strong universal defensive mechanics and her own powerful offensive tools and game plan, she absolutely thrives in this game. Her game plan is simple, but brutally effective. Just be cautious not to get predictable with your dive kicks or pressure, otherwise you may end up signing your own death certificate. I mentioned in prior videos that zoning isn't that strong in Garou, so of course it stands to reason that one of the best characters in the game happens to be able to zone pretty effectively. Kain R. Heinlein, uncle to Rock Howard and brother-in-law of Geese Howard, who is also notable for being top tier in a bunch of games. Funny that Kain ends up inheriting the top tier gene but not Rock. Kain relies heavily on his break as well as having plenty of meter stock and being in TOP, but when he shines, he really shines. Hover over Jaehoon and input down down up up down up to select him. Kain is unique amongst the roster as he's a charge character, which has very interesting implications for his design. Like I said, zoning in Garou is generally a fruitless endeavor. Just defend nullifies keep away with them for the most part, and that's on top of the small screen size. Characters like Hotaru and Bud usually use fireballs as an extended poke or combo ender. Kain though actually can do decent keep away thanks to this. His A fireball is a pretty standard generic forward advancing projectile, but the C version travels upward at an angle. This can make the projectile pretty difficult to get around. Obviously you can still JD it, but people who are just absent-mindedly jumping in anticipation of a fireball are likely not going to be ready to do this. It's also worth noting that Kain spends a decent amount of time recovering from his fireball in the air, which can make getting a full combo punish on him very tricky. You'd expect this to be the forefront of his strength, but the real star of the show is his flash kick. It's a down charge move as expected, but it's also his break. Now by itself, it's a good reversal. It fires a projectile downward even on whiff, and Kain sort of suspends himself in the air when coming down, so baiting and punishing it is way harder than it needs to be. As a break though, it shines as a tool of extreme strength and annoyance. Say it with me now, plus on block invincible DP, or flash kick, whatever. The opponent guessed wrong, they get hit and launched into a combo. They guess right and block it, you're plus 9 or 11, which can put the opponent into very scary guessing situations. Not only is this an excellent wake up and guard cancel, but it's also an incredible neutral tool. It's great at shutting down approaches. Any button or action the opponent decides to commit to can be punished with a DP break. There is one constraint, and it's of course the input. It's down charge, which means working it into your offense can be very awkward, since you always have to be holding down or down back, forcing Kain to choose between surrendering his advantage and screen space to keep his break charged, or trying to press his advantage without it. As expected for a charge character, he prefers a slower paced neutral, which he can play very well thanks to his break as well as his solid fireball. His other special move is this charge, which mostly acts as a combo ender after a launch. The D version can also be feinted similarly to a break, but this is pretty useless. It's already extremely slow to start up, and you don't really get anything off of this pseudo break. Complementing his strong defense is Kain's supers. He might be blessed with the most versatile selection of supers in the entire game. Both the S and P power version of both of his supers are extremely strong and make his meter spending very flexible. First we have the Comet super, where Kain summons a meteorite from the sky that falls very close to him. It's 1 or 2 frame startup depending on version, but this is a little deceptive as the actual comet takes a few seconds after the super flash to fall. You use this super primarily to cash out in combos, and in that regard it's very strong, boasting the ability to OTG and converting off of his break for very nice damage. It's also very plus if the comet is blocked, and it can be hard to punish even on whiff. Then we have the Orb. This is the crux of his powerful Okizeme and allows him to put his opponent into various different checkmate situations. The Orb is multi-hitting and travels fairly far, disappearing upon hitting an opponent or going off screen. The B version travels in a straight line and hits 7 times, while the D version bounces up and down and hits 10 times. The tricky trajectory of the D version might make it seem like the superior option in neutral compared to the forward-moving B version, but remember that Kain has an upward-moving fireball. This is a pretty nasty trap for people who aren't experienced with just defending, but the evils you can inflict upon people go way farther than just a simple test of the opponent's JD proficiency. With this super in hand, you can really ruin someone's day. The most infamous aspect of Kain's Orb super are his guaranteed guard break setups. If you happen to catch an opponent blocking, Kain has multiple ways to set up inescapable block strings with 2 or sometimes 1 of his orbs, ending off with a TOP attack to open the opponent up and score himself a full combo. This can be very powerful, and the chip damage from the orbs is a nice bonus. Since you can perform the orb on wake up as a meaty, it also makes his Oki very strong. The obvious problem with this is that many of these setups require him to be in TOP mode, since the most ideal ender for his guard crush block strings use his TOP attack, which does a whopping 25 guard damage. While most characters prefer placing TOP at the start of the health bar to take immediate advantage of the increased damage and meter build, Kain can make very efficient use of middle or even end TOP to mount comebacks with his high guard damage. If that wasn't enough, there's also the Seal bug, Seal being the name of the Orb super if you didn't know. I could explain it, but it would be way more efficient to show it. The Seal bug triggers if an opponent is forced to switch from just defending to blocking. Whatever caused them to block will become bugged and hit multiple times, guard crushing them and doing monstrous damage. This is most commonly done with Kain's TOP attack, another thing that makes him so strong in this state, and makes him extremely scary to deal with. It's hard to find a true solution out of here. Whether you take the hit, block the orb, or risk just defending it, Kain can come out of all 3 of these situations victorious. His dependence on meter for all his guard crushing is easily dealt with by his strong meter gain thanks to his break, but losing TOP can definitely be a big blow for him, so try to avoid getting into scrambles and losing your TOP before you can utilize it. The biggest problems with Kain definitely stem from being a charge character. I already explained that he needs to be always holding down or down back for his strongest tool, but this also limits his damage potential if he doesn't have charge. Also, he definitely becomes less threatening without TOP. He still has his break, his fireballs, and his strong supers, but his most broken stuff becomes much harder or impossible to attain. There's definitely a barrier of entry to learning Kain considering he's a charge character and his break can be fairly difficult to do, but it's certainly worth it. Don't let his nice suit and charismatic smile fool you. Kain is a terrifying force who can control the pace of a match well, and with the right setup, he can be absolutely deadly. So that's the top 4 of Garou, all very, very strong characters with unique strengths and tools, all degenerate, but also very cool characters. Garou is a real neat game, and it's fun to see how all 4 of these guys take advantage of Garou's mechanics and overall pace in different and often silly ways. This was a real fun video to do, and I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for watching, have a great night, and take care. Hey guys, as usual, this is the part of the video where I thank all my channel members. So thank you to Old Man Han, Triangle God, Cammy the Killer, Jazba, Mortis, Isaac the Collector, Arg Seals, Wormy, and Terry Hints. Thank you guys all for watching this video. See you guys next time. Have a great night and take care.